How does it feel to be a full fledged MCU superhero? What does it mean to you?
Being a full-fledged MCU superhero is an absolute dream come true, and I don't say that lightly. I was, reading comic books from when I was a little kid. I was playing with action figures. I was watching all the movies, even the really obscure ones, even the ones that, if we're honest, I probably shouldn't have seen because I was too young. But I watched them all, and just became so obsessed with the idea of heroes, with the idea of like making your own destiny and carving out your own path and achieving greatness. And I just think that what's so special about this movie, of course, is that it's the representation of that, but for a community that isn't used to seeing that kind of authentic representation and that aspirational representation. And the wonderful thing is that we not only have one title Asian superhero in the MCU now, we have I'm looking at the poster now, and we have so many badass Asian and Asian American heroes and heroines that audiences will be able to look up to, and that each represent a small piece of that spectrum that makes up the Asian or Asian American experience. And it's truly such a rich and diverse movie, and I can't wait for people to see it.
What kind of responsibility comes with taking on a role like Shang-Chi?
There's definitely a responsibility when it comes to taking on a role like Shang-Chi. I think we're dealing with subject matter that comes from the 70s that is, maybe parts of it are not the most suited to be modernized into 2021. So it was really critical that we, take the core elements of the character that we think are the most important, but then to craft a new and fresh origin story that audiences have never seen before that really is progressive and makes sense in the modern day. And I think we've done that. We have such an incredible filmmaking team, including but not limited to, Destin Cretton, our amazing director, and Dave Callahan, our screenwriter, both of whom are Asian American. And so they were really able to write to the Asian American experience when it comes to a character like Sean. Um, I was really just struck by how, authentically the script spoke to my own lived experience. And you can see little Easter eggs of that sprinkled throughout the movie, like, the way that Sean takes off his shoes before he, visits Katy's house, and also the way that, you know, um, that language is used, Mandarin and English are seamlessly woven together in these households. Um, just really, really incredible. And the responsibility to get those things right is so critical. And we've really felt like we've succeeded, and we hope that audiences will agree when they see our movie.
How did you connect with Shang-Chi? Do you share any personality traits?
Um, I think I share a few personality traits with Shang-Chi. Most importantly, our affinity for karaoke. I think I love karaoke as much as, if not more than, Sean. And, I will say definitely not in the fighting. I definitely am not one of the greatest hand-to-hand fighters in the history of the world, so can't really relate to him there. But I think in just the way that he is around his friends, too. I think Sean is intensely loyal. I think he just absolutely loves being in the presence of friends, and namely his best friend Katy. And I think the two of them just are so down to have a good time, and I think I'm very much the same way. And then I'll also say, I think just in the way that Shang-Chi struggles with his relationship to his father, I think, growing up in an immigrant household, I can definitely relate to that, juggling and navigating the expectations of my parents, and trying to connect to them, even across a cultural barrier and oftentimes a language barrier. It was really hard for us, and we got into a lot of arguments, and there was a lot of tension because we just fundamentally didn't understand each other. And I'm really, really happy with the journey that I took, and I hope that Sean can take a similar journey in the movie, where he can, learn to accept all of the parts of him, and including, the parts that are darker, and maybe represent, his father's side.
Talk about working with a director, Destin Cretton, and what you learned from him.
I think working with Destin, what really struck me was how much he didn't want to make a traditional superhero movie, you know, and we talk about that superhero pose that Yelena makes fun of in Black Widow. I mean, but it's the spirit of that. It's the spirit of like, you know, not wanting to frame this character as a superhero, but rather as an ordinary person. And that's when stories become relatable, is when there is human emotion attached to it. And I think Destin's affinity for that is what really makes this movie pop and what makes the story great. And, you know, going in, I was kind of filled with all sorts of anxiety and insecurity about myself and how I measured up as a superhero, you know, because you know, who ever thinks that they're worthy, you know, whether it's like being not tall enough, not handsome enough, not, you know, not good enough at martial arts, or not, you know, whatever have you, not muscular enough. Like there's so many questions that I had going in, just because I knew that I wasn't the tallest, I wasn't the most handsome, I wasn't the best at martial arts. And what Destin really made me understand is that I was chosen for my heart and my emotional, you know, my emotional range, not necessarily just how high I could kick, how much I could throw a punch. And really the story connects because it's a human story and because it has those dramatic beats and isn't just, you know, an action movie by the numbers. And so I really hope that audiences can see that when it comes through, because we do have all of the trademark, you know, mind-bending, amazing action sequences of any Marvel movie. But then also I think they're going to be really surprised by just how emotionally rich the story is, and that's definitely because of Destin's touch as a director.
What was it like working with and being around such an esteemed cast?
It was an incredible experience working with an esteemed cast every day. You have, you know, just cinema legends like Tony Leung and Michelle Yeoh, and then also people that are just absolutely crushing the scene today, like Ronnie Chang and Awkwafina. And then you have, you know, total newcomers like Meng'er Zhang, who is absolutely incredible in this movie. I mean, it really just was like a dream come true every single day coming to work. First of all, I was incredibly nervous. I was the new kid on the block in a lot of ways. This was my first, you know, major movie production, and you know, I was the guy on set with oftentimes the guy on set with the least amount of experience, and so I had to, you know, I had to defer to a lot of my castmates who were a lot more experienced than me, and they were all incredibly gracious and incredibly generous and patient with me, and we all kind of just got down to the work and you know, played and explored and tried new things and just were all united under the shared goal of making the best movie that we possibly could.
What does the superhero Shang-Chi mean for Asian representation?
I think any superhero means hope. It represents, you know, every superhero represents hope and possibility, and I think that's what Shang-Chi will represent to so many kids who, you know, maybe haven't seen themselves represented or reflected in that way. You know, I remember just watching Black Panther for the first time in 2018. I mean, such an incredible movie, one of my favorite films of all time, starring the absolutely incredible Chadwick Boseman. I just feeling the gravity of that movie and just how incredibly empowering it felt just to watch that, and wondering and hoping if you know, if you know, our community would get the same thing, and then being, you know, so pleasantly surprised not so long after when Shang-Chi was announced. There really was a sense that this was a special moment, and that this meant a lot to the community. And that's, you know, that was reflective in the care that we took as well in our story, and making sure that we got every piece right, and that we accurately reflected what it meant to be Asian and Asian American. And we, you know, this movie is very much a celebration of culture, of pride, and of belonging. So I really can't wait for people to see it.
What can audiences look forward to when they see the movie?
I think audiences can look forward to some of the most incredible action sequences in any Marvel movie or any movie period. I think they can look forward to really surprising moments of comedy, and also really surprising moments of emotional depth and intimacy And you know, that's what you get with a wonderful director like Destin. He's so good at kind of crafting this intimate story, rich with human emotion and intricacy, but in the backdrop of this massive blockbuster movie. I think he does it so masterfully, and I think audiences are really going to be surprised at the emotional depth of the movie when they watch it.
If you could describe the movie in one word, what would it be and why?
Hmm. Groundbreaking, because not only because it literally there is a moment where the ground breaks, but spoiler alert. But also, I mean, it's just such a watershed moment for so many reasons. It's the first, you know, Hollywood movie appearance of a legendary actor in Tony Leung. It's the first, you know, Asian-led movie in the MCU, and it's the first movie in the MCU with a predominantly Asian cast. It's groundbreaking in its action, in its characters, in its richness, and also in its representation. So it just truly a new and refreshing story, and I can't wait for people to see it.
How does it feel to have a place in the MCU?
It feels very cool, very exciting. Very cool to be in the MCU.
What makes Katy such an interesting character to play?
Katy is, I think that she is easy to play for me because I felt like I was really stepping into a character that felt familiar. And I think that she is going through a lot of things for the first time within the universe, and especially with Shang-Chi. Yeah.
What impressed you the most about the director, Destin Daniel Cretton?
I think Destin's warmth and kind of collaborative sensibility was really special to work with. He's very, there's nothing too big or small when it comes to wanting to work out something with your character, and I think that he just brings a really cool, good energy to set.
What was it like working with such a great cast? Was there a lot of camaraderie?
Yeah, there was so much camaraderie. I think we spent a lot of time out there. We became a little family, and there's a lot of love going on.
What is it about the film that makes you proud to be part of it?
I'm really proud to be a part of this film. I think it would mean a lot. I think it would have meant a lot for me to see Shang-Chi, someone like Shang-Chi as a kid, and I think that it'll mean a lot to kids today to hopefully see themselves in a superhero.
So now you're an archer. Tell us about the bow training and what you had to learn.
I had to learn basically how to use a bow. I really couldn't even guess how to do it. And it actually is very zen. I enjoy it very much as a sport. And props to Gina Davis, one of an Olympic grade archer, who's also a fantastic actress, especially in The Long Kiss Goodnight.
What do you hope audiences experience when they see the movie?
I hope that audiences, first of all, have a lot of fun. That they feel like they're what we always loved about the movies is in this, and also that they're kind of moved by this really beautiful story that's also being told.
If you could describe the movie in one word, what would it be and why?
I would describe it as tantalizing.
The global broadcast generic.
Mm-hmm.
And first question, why did you want to be part of the MCU?
Oh, I mean, I myself is such a big Marvel fan, and I watch all the Marvel films in theaters, and I never thought I would be a part of it one day, and it's such an amazing family.
This is your first movie role, so what impressed you the most about making a big movie like this?
I mean, yes, it's such a journey for me. I remember the first day I stepped on set and I put my hand on the wall, and all of a sudden the memory of my characters just flew into my veins. It's just such a magical moment for me. And all those details and all those, I thought it's just the outside. But actually, I went into every individual room, and I want to live there.
Tell us about your character and how you approached playing her.
My character Xialing in this film is Shang-Chi's sister, and she is someone that you don't want to mess with because she kick ass. And she's such a complex character with a lot of layers. She has the cold, unapproachable exterior, but she also has the sensitive and vulnerable part deep down inside of her. And she's such a special character. I love her. I learned a lot from her. And I cannot wait for the world to meet her.
What was it like working with Simu and Awkwafina?
Oh my God. Simu is like a real brother to me. I mean, he took me to Disneyland to surprise me for my marriage celebration, and Awkwafina, she threw a big karaoke party for us to celebrate, and we are like family. We really bond together so strong. We had so much fun together. And yeah, Awkwafina, she's the coolest girl I've ever met. It can be pretty intimidating doing improv alongside of her, but it was so much fun. And Simu, he always encourages me, and yeah, he's really like a brother to me.
So what was it like working with Destin as the director?
I feel extremely lucky to work with him, and he's so patient with me. And I remember the first time we met, he said, "Meng'er, your English so good." And after we shot for a month, he said, "Meng'er, maybe we should get you a dialect coach." He's always so clear with me, and he never give me any pressure. And I just want to thank him for trusting in me. I love you, Destin.
There are awesome practical sets in this film. Which one did you like the best and why?
Oh my God, I have to choose one. I love the compound and I love the village. I mean, I really want to live there. The village is like the whole thing. We even have, chickens set up on the set. Wow. And in the compound we have small pond, we have real flowers. Wow.
What can audiences expect when they see this movie?
It's such an amazing story about family and love and bond. And we poured a lot of heart and a lot of hard work into making it. And we have a lot of drama, a lot of comedy, and of course, countless breathtaking action sequences. I think the audience will laugh with us, will cry with us, and when you go home, you will carry the warm feeling in your heart. It's really a special film.
If you could describe the movie in one word, what would it be and why?
Why would it be? It's so hard to describe in one word because when you have so much to say about one word, heartfelt. It's really a heartfelt story. I'm gonna watch this film 500 times.
And I'll slate that this is for the broadcast generic. So, first question, what was your reaction when you were asked to reprise the role of Trevor? What made you want to bring him back to the big screen?
Well, to put it very simply, Kevin Feige came to my house. I live in Oxfordshire in England, and he flew over to present to me the idea of Trevor in the first place, and that introduction to him was so well put, so well thought through, and the initial character so well thought through and well created, and then the short film that Drew Pearce did afterwards when Trevor is in prison. It was a marvelous opportunity to add more layers and see another aspect of him in his element as an actor doing a one-man show for people, dressed in his Shakespearean costume. It was a tremendous opportunity. I was absolutely delighted to revisit Trevor and to give him another breath of life, as it were. really, really a wonderful opportunity.
You have said that Trevor is an amazing adapter. Can you tell us why?
Well, I think not to go into too much of a backstory because the audience don't see that, but I think that there is a struggle in Trevor. I think that he is a great survivor and a great adapter because of perhaps something in his childhood, perhaps his parenting, and certainly there is an element in the true actor of the chameleon, one that can empathize, transform, and adapt in order to tell a story. And I think that Trevor's ability to tell a story and to adapt and to empathize is perhaps a tool for life that he didn't quite realize he had until he gets into that extraordinary environment of Ta Lo and that journey towards Ta Lo, where he suddenly has an authority that perhaps he didn't realize he had in the first place. So it's a voyage, along with so many of the other cast members, it is also a voyage of self-discovery for Trevor too.
Trevor brings so much humor and fun to the film. As an actor, how did you go about developing him as a fully rounded, relatable character?
Well, I'm very flattered that you've described him as a fully rounded, relatable character. He is based upon actors and colleagues with whom I worked in my early days as an actor, and I started my career quite considerably in the north of England. I'm very fond of the north of England. I didn't live very far from Liverpool. In fact, to travel to Liverpool, all we had to do is go along the East Lancashire Road, it was called in those days. It's probably called a motorway now with a number. But then it was the East Lancs Road, and it was so exotic to go, 20 miles from Manchester or Salford up to Liverpool, where there dwelt a tailor who made my father's suits, and also, when I was an adolescent, made my first suit. So I have a fascination and a familiarity with the town of Liverpool, and I decided, and it was decided by dear Drew Pearce, that his origins were from the north of England, and I built that into him, and certain dear colleagues that I knew in my early days as an actor, their attitudes, their adventurous spirit, their wisdom, and their ability to quote Shakespeare at will. So he is a kaleidoscope, like a mosaic, an amalgam of lots of people of whom I'm very fond, and whom I met in my early theatre days before I was blessed by the cinema and became a film actor. So I think that contribution added, those contributions added to making him the character that he is. But I must say that on paper, on the page, he's a marvelous role to play. And there's very little improvisation in my performance. It is very much on the page. If it's not on the page, the actor can't deliver. But the basic building blocks, far more. Practically every word I say in the film is on the page. So that's a great starting point.
And what do you think about Trevor's costume for this film?
He graduates from looking very much like an Elizabethan Shakespearean actor to very simple village dress in Ta Lo, and then into a warrior's costume, the red costume. And that journey of costume totally reflected my journey Trevor's journey, in that he starts off as a Shakespearean actor. He then travels as a villager, as a wanderer, and then discovers in him something that might be just at a pinch something of the warrior. So the costume I put on like a glove. and it seemed utterly appropriate to what I was trying to do with Trevor. I was delighted.
And tell us about Trevor's companion, Morris, and what it was like working with the CGI character.
That CGI character came to life thanks to the rapport I had with the handler, who was invariably at the end of a long pole, but I used to talk to him before the scene, and we used to build up certain moments where, because I react as an actor, I love reacting. So he would give me out, right in the corner of my peripheral vision, out of my eye line, he would give me a lovely jump or a movement or a little scurry that would prompt me to my next line of dialogue or my next gesture to Morris. So that was a really nice relationship. And we had time to build that rapport because Destin ran such a wonderful set where everybody could seize their moment, confident that they would not be interrupted.
And what did the director bring to the film?
Well, listening to him today in the press conference and working with him as a man and a colleague, he brings many layers of his own compassion, sympathy, struggle, and wisdom to the film. A beautiful lyrical quest for the original self that emerges into the world before it's messed up. And I think Destin is in touch with that original self. We could call it the child within, but I don't want to infantilize what I'm saying. It's the original self, the journey of the soul. He's deeply intelligent, immensely likable, philosophical man, a man with whom I would go into battle, side by side, knowing that I was safe.
And how would you describe the time you spent in the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
Sublime. There's your one word.
And final question, what can audiences expect when they see this movie?
We have to give it away. We can't hold on. If we're holding on, if we express expectations, we're holding on. We can't do that. All we can say is, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, here you are.
What does it mean to you to be part of the MCU?
Well, it's a childhood dream that becomes reality. I always dreamt of being part of the MCU or, play a superhero. And actually, when I was, a little kid playing with my friends on the playground, we always played superheroes. We had all those action figures in our room. And now it became reality. And even long term, the goal was always, to at some point be part of the MCU. Once I stepped into the film industry, and now it happened. So I'm very, very thankful and proud.
And what attracted you to the part of Razor Fist?
Well, to be honest with you, what attracted me was that it was a role in the MCU. Once you have an opportunity, you can't really think about or making decisions about, I don't want to play this character and I want to play another character. Once the MCU knocks on your door, it doesn't matter what character they have in store for you. You have to audition and try to get the role. Then once you get the role, then you actually try to connect to the character and get more infos about the character and actually get to know the character and learn more about the character. But once I got to know the character Razor Fist, I feel like him and me, we share the same values. It's about loyalty, family, brotherhood. It's just a different perspective. If I'm talking now from a Florian perspective and his perspective, his family are the 10 rings, his loyalty, lays with Vendu, who took him from the streets of Romania, gave him home and purpose. And his brotherhood are basically his soldiers, And I feel like there's a lot more to tell. This character is a lot more layered than you would first see on the first look. So we'll see what the MCU has in store for Razor Fist in the future.
What kind of training did you do for the role?
The training that I did for the role, besides all the weightlifting, because the director wanted this character to really be big and massive and solid, was the martial arts training. They brought the hell of a stunt team to this project. It was unbelievable what they had in store training wise, and what they were actually able to teach me every day, and then seeing it, how they delivered and how they created the choreographies was unbelievable. So I feel like the transition of being a boxer from a boxing stance and from a boxing fighting style to a martial arts fighting style, I feel like that was a tough process. And yeah, the weightlifting on top of it, I mean, the whole thing was tough, but it was worth it.
Can you tell us about working with the cast and the camaraderie?
So working with the cast on Shang-Chi was just amazing and a lot of fun. I feel like the chemistry between every character and every actor on set was amazing. I feel like that's why it works so good on screen. And especially, we as the young kids, I would say, on the project with Simu, Nora, me, and Meng'er, we had a lot of fun, always cracking jokes in between, always, loosening up the situation. And I feel like when you have a surrounding like that, when you create an atmosphere like that, that's when you really have the opportunity to create something incredible. And I think we nailed it.
And what was your experience like working with the director?
Yeah, Destin is amazing. I'm lucky now to have worked with a couple of directors, and I feel like Destin has a very, very chilled and relaxed way of handling the whole situation. And the way he is, he gives me a lot of confidence. It seems like he trusts you, he believes in you. You can feel that with everything that he does, with everything that he says. And I feel like an actor, I would compare the situation to, for example, a trainer and a fighter. Your trainer has to believe in you, and that's what Destin does. He never gave me the feeling of doubts. He knew exactly why he casted me, and I just wanted, because of how he was with me and how communicative he was and how we created different scenarios together, I just wanted to pay him back. So in every scene that I was stepping in, I was doing it for him as well. I had to pay something back. I had to pay that trust back. And yeah, I think I did so.
What did you enjoy the most working on this movie?
Well, one thing what I always enjoy with every project is the opportunity of working with new and talented people, because that's how you grow. You always want to improve, and it's a growing process. As an actor, you want to improve your skill set, and as a person, you also want to improve your, the way how you interact with people, your social IQ, and it always brings you to the next level if you work on a project. But if I talk about specifics now, with this movie, I feel like this movie is so important for the Asian community, and it's so martial arts inspired that the fight sequences are something completely new, something that we probably never have seen before. and that's why I would say the fight sequences in this movie are so special to me.
And what kind of action can audiences look forward to?
Well, it's action-packed, it's martial arts inspired, and it's definitely something we have never seen on screen before. Those fight sequences will knock you off, that's for sure. And we put so much work into this. And you will know what I'm saying when you see it on screen.
And final question, if you could describe the movie in one word, what would it be and why?
Epic. Because you've never seen stuff like that before in your life.
Why did you want to direct a big Marvel Studios superhero film?
I mean, I honestly didn't initially want to direct a big Marvel superhero film until I saw the announcement of this particular character. And there was something about this character that gripped me. And I felt like I had to take a meeting with Marvel. And as soon as I sat down with Jonathan Schwartz, our producer, and heard his thoughts on the character and the direction they were already wanting to take it, I just felt pretty aligned with that vision, and it got me very excited to be a part of the process.
What was your vision for the film?
I wanted to create a character that my childhood self could be proud of. I wanted to create a superhero that my two sons can look up to. And I wanted to create a world of characters that I could relate to as an Asian American. Our co-writer, Dave Callahan, could relate to as a Chinese American. We wanted to fill this world with characters that felt like our friends and our family, and watch them go through struggles and deal with their own inner conflict in a way that was relatable to all of our journeys. And that was the main focus of what we were after in tackling this movie.
What was most impressive about Marvel Studios' filmmaking style, and why was that important to you as a director?
Marvel Studios has a very unique way of working, and it is surprisingly really fun. I mean, you could imagine that working on movies of this size would just feel like a lot of pressure and stress. But the way that the studio works is not really rooted in fear. It's rooted in exploration, where risk taking is encouraged, and there really isn't a hierarchy where one person has all the ideas and everybody else needs to shut up and follow. This is an environment where the best idea rises to the top, even if that idea comes from an intern or a PA. And that's, to me, the healthiest type of environment to be creative in. I think when you're making a movie like this, we as audiences go to watch movies like this because we want to have fun, because we want to be reminded of that childlike play and imagination and just playing make-believe in a sandbox. And you can't really make movies that do that for an audience unless you are encouraging that in the creative process. And that's what it felt like making this movie so many times. I just could not, I couldn't believe that I was getting paid to do it, because it didn't feel like work. It felt like play. It felt like make believe, and I feel very lucky to have been a part of it.
What was it like working with some of the most famous stars of Asian cinema?
Working with stars like Tony Leung and Michelle Yeoh was it was very intimidating for me until I met them. I had worked them up in my head to be, on a very high pedestal, and what I found, which was surprising, was they actually surpassed the pedestal that I had put them on, not only in their work ethic, not only in their talent and their ability to sink into a performance in a way that just blew all of us away on set, but they also surpassed that legend status in my head because they were so grounded and so kind, so gentle and respectful to everybody around them, and so full of joy and excitement for the work. They were a huge reason why we had such a fun and exciting time on set, because these people that we looked up to since we were young were telling us that it's okay to have fun, it's okay to explore, it's okay to have a good time on set, because that's what we're all trying to tap into. And it was really such a joy to be able to explore this story alongside them.
What do you hope audiences take away from this film?
I hope when an audience sees this movie in a theater, they will be transported to a fantastical place and then taken on a fantastical journey. I do hope that there is a level of healthy escapism that comes from stepping out of our lives and sitting in a theater for 2 hours to experience something. But on top of that, I hope that an audience sees the underlying themes and the emotional ride of these characters, and find something in that they can relate to, that they can take with them when they leave the theater, that they can apply to their own struggles and their own pains that we're all working through. And I hope you leave the theater feeling a little boost of joy, a little boost of optimism, and like Shang-Chi has taken his own pain and his own struggle and flipped it on its head and turned it into a strength. I hope an audience can walk out of a theater doing a little of the same.
And the last question. Sorry. If you could describe the movie in one word, what would that word be and why?
If I could describe this film in one word, it would be family. I think that word conjures a lot of emotions to anybody who hears it, because we all immediately think of the people that we are connected to the most. I think along with family comes some of the most joyous moments of our lives, and also comes a lot of pain and struggle. And this movie at its core is all about a family that is learning to deal with the pain of their past, and learning how to come back together after being shattered by something that was fairly tragic. Family is something that is incredibly important to me, and even while we were on set, because of the subject matter that we were exploring, a lot of the conversations naturally led to people talking about their own families and how they are relating to the characters in this movie. And I don't know. I think even in the MCU, and the community that is created through the fans of Marvel, there is a larger family that is created between the dialogue that fans have with each other and the dialogue that they have with the movies, each new movie that comes out. And there is something really special to now feel like I have become a part of that family, and all of these new characters in this movie are now a part of that family. And I cannot wait for everybody to experience that.
Wonderful. Thank you.